achievement worldwide, and it is one of the oldest youth-based organizations in the world. It's been globally in operations for over 100 years, and in Nigeria, we've been in operations for 25 years and counting, which is a great, great achievement. In the span of 25 years, we have impacted over 1 million young people, and our whole mission is to inspire and prepare young people to be successful leaders and to thrive in the modern business world, in the global economy. So all the programs that we do, such as this one, programs in schools, programs, with teachers, with volunteers, with university students, private school students, we're all looking to provide a bridge between the classroom and the workplace, and to ensure that young people, young Nigerians especially, are prepared to thrive in the global economy. So today's conversation is all about STEM. And some of you are interested in STEM, some of you are not really in the STEM field, but sciences are crucial to the world we operate in, not only with the devices that we use, we're all logged on Zoom, but it's also for career trajectories. Whether you're somebody who's interested already, whether you're a tech guru, whether you're somebody who's not really interested, this is a conversation for you, because the goal of this conversation the theme is Unpacking STEM Careers, a voice in science. So we have amazing speakers here that I'm not going to introduce. I'm going to give it to the moderators to introduce it. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to our lovely, lovely moderators, our special moderators. We have Adaora Teniayo and Dakore from Children's International School to moderate this session. So over to you both. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Adaora Teniayo, and I am a student at Children's International School, Lagos. I am in year 9 DK to be specific, and I am 14 years old. Very much for the opportunity to be part of this session and to be a moderator today. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dakore I am in year 8 and I'm 13 years old, and I'm very honored to be here. So we'd like to just introduce our guests for today. Today we have Dr. Adaora with us. Dr. Adaora Dagodo with us.
And also, we have Dr. Temilola Oluseyi.
So I would like to quickly read Dr. Adaora's bio so that you have more background on who she is and what she is here today for. Dr. Adaora Precious Dagogo is a visionary entrepreneur, IT leader, and advocate for diversity and inclusion. With over a decade of leadership experience, she has founded and scaled multiple startups across Europe and Africa, breaking barriers for women in male-dominated industries. Her journey began in medicine, but technology found her, and she embraced it as a powerful tool for innovation across various fields, including healthcare, business, and education. From an early age, leadership and impact have been central to her path. At just 12 years old, she stepped into leadership, driven by a deep desire to create meaningful change. Today, as a managing director with STECAD Limited, an international IT outsourcing company with operations in the UK and Nigeria, she has led the company to secure major clients such as Shell, Johnson & Johnson, and Amazon. Under her leadership, STECAD has consistently exceeded revenue targets and has been recognized for excellence in IT, outscoring, and diversity initiatives. Throughout STECAD's Empower Her initiative, which she leads with her team, hundreds of high school girls in IT skills such as coding, robotics, and cybersecurity, with many going on to secure scholarships and careers in STEM. She also actively works to bridge the gender gap in technology by providing access to digital tools like laptops, ensuring that more women have the opportunity to thrive in the industry. Beyond business, Dr. Adaora is passionate about mentorship and empowering the next generation. She runs a global mentorship program supporting young women in career, business, and personal development. Her work and impact have earned her recognition, including being listed among the top 50 female role models in tech by Computing UK, and being featured in publications such as Punch and Guardian newspaper, where she discusses the challenges and successes of women in tech. She has also spoken at global events, including TEDx, Change EMEA, and Pride Women Conference, using her platform to advocate for equity in leadership and the inclusion of diverse voices in decision-making spaces. Adaora's commitment to innovation, leadership, and advocacy continues to drive her work. She is dedicated to creating opportunities for others, particularly young women and underrepresented communities, providing that with courage, consistency, and the right support, barriers can be broken and new possibilities created. I'll now let Teniayo read Professor Oluseyi's bio.
Thank you very much, Dakore. Now, on to Professor Oluseyi's biography. Professor Temilola Oluseyi is an accomplished analytical and environmental chemist with over 20 years of experience in research, teaching, and mentoring. She's a professor of chemistry at the University of Lagos, Nigeria, where she has made significant contributions to environmental pollution monitoring, public health risk assessment, and sustainable chemistry. Research focuses on the fate and behavior of persistent organic pollutants, POPs, heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, and personal care products, PPCPs, in environmental and biological systems. He has led and collaborated on numerous national and international research projects, including those funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020, the Royal Society, GCRF, and TET Fund. He has also been a visiting researcher and fellow at prestigious institutions such as Emory University, USA, the University of Birmingham, UK, Loughborough University, UK, and Ulster University in the UK. Beyond her research, Professor Oluseyi is a dedicated mentor and advocate for women in STEM. He has supervised and mentored over 80 postgraduate students, including 7 PhD candidates, many of whom have received international fellowships and leadership positions in academia and industry. He actively champions gender inclusion in STEM, working to break barriers for young female scientists through mentorship and capacity building programs. Oluseyi is a recipient of several prestigious awards and fellowships, including the Marie Square Dewey Research and Innovation Staff Exchange Projects, Commonwealth Academic Fellowship, and the Royal Society International Exchanges Award. He has published extensively in high-impact international journals and has presented her work at major scientific conferences worldwide. A strong believer in science for impact, she advocates for environmental sustainability and chemical safety regulation. She collaborates with government agencies, industry stakeholders, and international organizations to drive policy change and promote best practices in pollution management. Through her pioneering work, Professor Oluseyi continues to shape the future of the environmental chemistry and environmental health research while inspiring the next generation of scientists, particularly women and underrepresented minorities in STEM.
So we'd like to ask a general question to the both of you, starting with Dr. Adaora. I wanted to ask, can you share like a fun fact about yourself that people might not really know about you? Just sitting by you, they might not really know. Just a fun fact.
Okay, I think thanks very much for the question and also for the bio. It's been awesome being here. And hi, everyone. I think a fun fact about me would be, I don't know, I take time to rest. I don't joke with my sleep at all. I don't joke with my sleep. And that's something that a lot of people, when you see me at first, you would never be able to predict. It's not out there, but I don't joke with my sleep. I take time to rest. So I love sleeping. That would be it.
I find that very beautiful. I think rest is very important when it comes to, participating in a very hardworking job. So it's good that you find time to just find yourself time to spend time with yourself and rest.
Yes, I agree with that. And now to Professor Oluseyi, I have the same question. Can you please share a fun fact about yourself that people may not know?
Well, I think, thank you very much for having me here. It's been my pleasure interacting with young girls. And I think for me, my fun fact is I eat any type of food. And because I travel a lot and sometimes I don't even know what the name of the food is, as long as it's called food, I think I give it a try.
Sounds good. Very interesting that you're open to youth from diverse cultures.
So it's time for us to dive into like deeper questions. Dr. Adaora, I wanted to ask, obviously you have a career in STEM and you're very successful. What exactly inspired you to pursue a career in STEM? What really motivated you to go for the field of STEM? Because obviously it's a very broad field, very hard, difficult. So what inspired you to really pursue a career there?
Okay, so let me first of all start by changing a myth, or when people talk about STEM, they mostly focus on just technology, but STEM is beyond that. When we talk about STEM, we're looking at S, science, and then the T is the technology. Then the E is the engineering and M is mathematics. But the technology part of STEM is the driving force behind STEM. Hence, when we talk about STEM, we're mostly focused on tech. I came out from a medical background, as you know, the reason behind the doc. I did masters in public health after doing my medicine bachelor's degree. So my life was fully supposed to be in the healthcare sector. That was the dream for me. Like I like to tell people that, I didn't find tech, tech found me, if that makes sense. It just happened that there was an opportunity where I had to step in for a friend who is coming from the tech background. And he had asked me, it was a computer networks gig, right? He had asked me to step in on his behalf to get the work done. And I was like, bro, I don't have any ICT skills. I'm a medical doctor. I work with patients. I've never done this before. And he was like, he believes in me. He knows it's something I can do, you know. So yeah, I took the opportunity. I said, okay, no problem. I went in his stead, and the day I went into that company, it was a big company. They took me to their IT room, and when I got to their IT room, I saw like a bunch of cables, such that I've never seen in my entire life. So it was like a rack and stack, and then cables everywhere. And my work was to ensure that I install a new device as a network engineer at the time. Um, to my greatest surprise, I was able to do one and two together, though it took me a longer time to finish the task than it will normally take an expert. But the fact is, I did the work. I was going to run out, but I spoke to myself in there. I would never forget that day. Um, and I said to myself that if I leave here, there are lots of people I will be disappointing. One, the person who recommended me. Two, the company I went there to represent. Three, the customer of that company I went there to represent. So it was like a whole lot at stake. So I just had to embrace it and, and just say I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so I got on it. When I was done, I thought they wouldn't call me back again. I thought that was it. But guess what? They kept calling me and calling me and calling me. In fact, they started referring to me as an engineer. Imagine a doctor being an engineer. And then I realized something, the flexibility in it, right? It was quite flexible and the pay was damn rewarded. It was much more than what I would make when I was working in the hospital. So I was like, why not give this a try? So I started taking courses, cybersecurity, computer networks, data analytics. I just started getting much more educated, trying to know more about these things. And yeah, from there, I had to start a company, an IT company. So it's quite a unique story. Yeah, well, yeah, it's mine.
I found that story very special. I think it's really beautiful how obviously STEM wasn't your first choice, being a doctor and just by a friend
Yes.
introducing you. It's really unique, like you said, a very special story.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Adaora, for your contribution. Now on to Professor Oluseyi. In the similar light to the question we asked Dr. Adaora, can you please tell us about your journey to becoming a professor in STEM?
All right. Thank you very much. I think my journey into STEM, for me, my S in the STEM is the science. So as a little girl, I loved science, and I grew up in a home where my parents were teachers. When I was much younger, my dad and my mom were teachers. My father was a secondary school teacher. My mom was in the primary school. And I was used to seeing them preparing lesson notes, getting ready for school and all that. So I grew up knowing about reading and have to study. I'd been a child of a teacher. both both parents were teachers, so just have to be up and doing with books. So I loved reading, and even practically, I loved reading newspaper. I remember then my dad would buy newspapers for me weekends. I read everything. The only thing I didn't like reading the newspaper was the sports pages. I read the obituary, read everything in the newspaper. When my parents go for programs, they get maybe burial programs. When they bring it home, I'll read all the tributes in the program. So surrounded by books and having interest in education. Then I remember then when I was in secondary school, my mom used to have a lesson. She does home lesson. Some pupils come around and she has a little lesson in the house, in the compound. So I used to help her mark the scripts when our lessons pupils come to assist her in teaching. She didn't employ anybody, but I was her assistant. So my passion for teaching continued. Then I saw that I could tell people things and they understand it. And when I got to the university, though I always wanted to be a medical doctor. And in Nigeria, you have to do JAMB. When I did my first JAMB, I didn't meet up with the cutoff mark for medicine at University of Ibadan. So I had to do JAMB again. And this time around, I said, okay, there's another subject I loved in secondary school. I loved chemistry. What makes me love chemistry is that the theory and the practical, they align. I could see things practically, colors changing when you titrate, seeing things physically as you're reading, you are imagining them and you're seeing them. So I told my mom I wanted to do chemistry. So I picked chemistry as my course in my second attempt. And when I got to the university, I loved the course. I loved the practical sessions. And when we do class, and my classmates loved teaching them. And I noticed every time I teach them, I know it more. I can remember myself teaching them when I get to exam also. I just said, okay, I think I have to continue there. And I once promised my dad when he wanted me, because he was disappointed I didn't do medicine. So I told him I was going to have a PhD. That does he want me to be called a doctor? He said yes. I said, okay, don't worry, I'll do a PhD and I'll be called a doctor. So then that made me not to stop with my first degree. I had my master's, then did my PhD. And I remember telling him on my graduation day that, Daddy, at least now I'm a doctor. Though I may not be able to give anybody injection or treat anyone, but I can be called a doctor today. And that's fueled my passion, and I kept on doing more in teaching and doing research in chemistry.
Thank you very much, Professor Oluseyi. It was nice to hear that your passion for teaching developed at a young age, and today we can still see that passion in your job as a university professor. And it is also nice to know that even though your exam results weren't desirable at first, you still persisted, and now you're a great role model for other girls. And as you're also able to attain your master's degree and your PhD degree. So I think that's very inspirational, and that's very good for being a role model for young girls.
I agree as well. Your story was really beautiful. Just to know that you just kept on going. You didn't stop even after your jam exam. You didn't stop. You continued going. So, I'm back to you, Dr. Adora. Obviously, your bio mentions that you didn't originally plan to go into field of tech, of STEM, but could you share the defining moment that led to your switch and what your journey has been like since then? Obviously, you went to the company and they called you back, but what was that moment that you realized maybe it's not, maybe I should leave being a doctor, the medical field, and just come to tech? And since you decided to make that big switch, how has your journey really been?
Okay, thanks. Uh, when was that wow moment for me? I would say the wow moment, the first, I think I had different wow moments. It wasn't something I could just, switch overnight, because it's different from, I won't say medicine is like other courses that you go to study. I spent good 6 years in school. And if you're in Nigeria, you could spend more. You can imagine. So I spent 6 years outside studying medicine. And then I went on to do my master's in public health for 2 years. I mean, I had invested a lot of time. My parents loved also the idea of me being a medical doctor. For them to have trained me through that, despite happenings at the time, it could tell that truly that was something that gave them pleasure. So having to switch wasn't something I could just say, okay, it's time for me. I'm done. Nah. I don't even feel like I'm done. So how I like to say it is, I've expanded my horizon. I'm no longer limited to one. I'm able to do more because the beautiful part about tech or STEM is that you are able to advance, different fields using IT. Right? So I like to call it the backbone of innovation for different fields, healthcare, law, banking, you name it, right? So for me, it was advancing. And even in that advancement, it means that I can still make great change and impact in the health sector, but through technology. Do you get that? So either way, still having to make that bit of switch or expand was difficult. So my first wow moment was when I went, to that company because when I came out, I was like, so that was it. I just worked like 5 hours and I got paid the amount that I would normally get if I was to work 1 week in the hospital. So I was like, wow, like, okay, there's something in here. Let's see what's here. When I started getting more calls from the various companies, and I recall a day where a company called me and said, Adora, I got your profile. Better still, engineer Adora, I got your profile and you were recommended as a very good engineer. I was like, me? A very good, like a skilled engineer, me that I did not read engineering in school. So they were not concerned about my background. They were much more concerned about my ability to deliver. In medicine, that's not the case. In medicine, you cannot be a medical doctor if you don't go through the school. But in tech, it's more or less what can you do, right? What problems can you solve is your ability to think outside the box. And that's what was sweet. So they're much more concerned about my now than my past. So that was a second shock for me. I was like, okay, interesting. And then the third would be when I decided to launch my company, Stekad, an IT outsourcing firm in the UK. That would be the third wow moment. And at that moment, I knew that as I have stepped into tech, I have to make a difference. I realized that my background is unique and I have to make it count. One of the problems I saw, which was this now answers the second question you asked me, was the fact that there were not enough role models, right? I realized that almost in every organization, you'd find a male gender in that field and a female gender, So I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to see how best can I change the status quo? How can I remove the stereotypes that STEM is not, women suck at it or it's not for women? And seeing the way I journeyed and what that journey was like. I'd faced a bit of issues here and there. One of the things that helped me was my being resilient, my ability to lead the way that nobody wanted to lead the way that people are scared of. Sometimes people do not know what it looks like because they've been told that it is not for them. So they don't want to try something that they are not used to. And I get that. So I chose to go the unconventional part so I could tell the story and inspire as many young ladies and tell them that with resilience, with focus, with determination, and having the right tools and environment around you, you can literally be the very best, even in technology. So that's what it has been like for me, just inspiring, helping people. At some point, because you see, light attracts. So at some point, based off my work, I started seeing some older people, not exactly in IT, but in leadership, that also helped to fuel my desire some more. And those people became role models to me as well. Yeah.
Wow, okay, that's great, honestly, to know that it wasn't necessarily your skill or the amount that you knew your knowledge, it was based on your potential. And obviously, from that one job you did, they could see that you had potential to do even greater things. You weren't necessarily, like you said, all in your books about engineering, but to know that all it really requires for you is to have that thirst for knowledge, to want to try new things. And
Yeah.
it's great that I went out of your comfort zone because a lot of people struggle with just getting out of their comfort zone and trying something new. And you trying something new has led to you becoming very successful, starting your own business. So I'm sure you're really happy that you took that huge step. And obviously, there will be difficulties along the way. People will have opinions, but
Mm-hmm.
it's good to know that you just need to want to do it. have the thirst for it and have enough potential. So thank you very much.
You're very much welcome.
Yes, again, like Dakore said, thank you very much, Dr. Adaora, for your response. I think it was a very enlightening response. And it's interesting to know that tech is not all about what you knew from before, but it's about what problems you can solve, how you can use your thinking skills to adapt to new situations and to think about new solutions to problems. And it's good to know as well that it doesn't solely depend on your background. I personally think that it's great that as a female in a male-dominated sector, it's still possible to thrive and become a role model. Now, on to Professor Temilola Oluseyi. I have a question. So my question is, what were some challenges you faced along the way and how did you overcome them? Obviously, there had to have been one or two obstacles or hindrances on your path because we know that becoming a professor at such a renowned university is not an easy task.
Thank you very much, Teniayo. Of course, in every job in life, things that will get good, you'll have to face obstacles. I'm sure I'm impressed with Dr. Adaora's path from being a medical doctor to a techie now. And I'm sure you may see it as an accomplished IT specialist now, but I'm sure it wasn't a walk in the park. So everything that is good in life, there will be a lot of challenges and obstacles, but that's where your resilience and determination and being purposeful comes in. For me, I already, like I said, from the time I got to the university, I knew I was going to not just to stop at my first degree, to have a master's and a PhD. So along the line, when I started my PhD at the University of Lagos, chemistry is is an aspect of science that is practical. My aspect of chemistry is environmental chemistry, whereby we look at pollutants in the environment, and you need equipment, sophisticated analytical equipment to do the analysis of those compounds. So initially, when I started my PhD, and it was coupled with the fact that I just got married then, trying to raise a new family, but I was stuck in my PhD. There were not equipment that I needed to do the analysis, because it's, PhD has to do with research, and you need equipment to do your research. But along the line, the wow moment I had then was I got a Commonwealth scholarship to go to the UK to do part of my PhD. And so when I got to the UK, it's broadened my perspective about research, about chemistry, because I had a very little understanding or view before. But getting to the United Kingdom, working in a very reputable laboratory, being supervised by a world-renowned supervisor, that enlightened me and gave me, I could do more. And over time, I started networking with other researchers, going to conferences in other parts of the world. And going to such conferences, I was able to network with people in other universities that could host me, sometimes for like maybe a month, 2 months, 6 months, to work in their laboratory, to dig more and learn more about the things of my area of research. So there have been challenges, but the major critical thing that has helped me is that the ability to collaborate with other top-notch researchers in other universities of the world. I was able to collaborate with them, and I've been able to get grants and scholarships or fellowships to also travel to those places to learn more. Then I've been fortunate to get students as well that I've supervised and mentored, and they've also been able to go to those places to learn and to impact on their research. So these have been the moments that have been of help to me. The challenges have come, but there have been ways of circumventing them or solving those challenges by collaborating with other researchers in other parts of the world.
Very much, Professor Oluseyi, for your response. I think it's good to know that your path wasn't an easy one, because I'm sure that many people who have aspirations of coming into the STEM field, they face different challenges. And even though you had no equipment or little to no equipment for research and analysis, you were still able to get a Commonwealth scholarship to go to the UK for part of a PhD. And I think it's also good that these experiences led to you networking with other people in conferences, which on your collaboration skills, and you're able to meet different new people. And in those conferences, you're able to learn about topics in your area of specialty, especially environmental chemistry. So I think it's very good to know that even though you had challenges, you're able to overcome those challenges. And as you overcame those challenges, you're also able to adapt and meet new people and learn new things about your field. Now I'll give the floor to Dakore, where she'll be asking another question to Dr. Adaora.
Yes. So before I quickly say my question, I just also want to add that I think personally it requires a lot of strength to be able to balance obviously getting married and trying to still do your PhD. So I just want to commend you for that. It takes a lot of strength and courage, and the fact that you're able to do it and you're still successful today just shows that you were resilient and you wanted to make sure that you succeeded and you cared about your future. And I think that's important for young girls to learn that it's going to be difficult. It's definitely going to be difficult, but if you continue to strive, have resilience, and continue to just think of your end goal as being successful, it will definitely work out for you. So, Dr. Adaora, obviously, your goal is to become a role model for young girls like me and Tenny, to become a role model to teach them that tech is not just for men, for male people, it's not just doesn't have to be male dominated. So just the same way you want to be a role model, what role models or support systems helped you in your journey to becoming a leader in the tech field?
Okay. I think the first is I would mention three that's been of great support to me. One is the mindset of ever learning. So you must always be willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think that's something that has been very crucial in my growth, just being open-minded and always knowing that there are different perspectives to different things. And that's the only way you can literally survive in tech, because tech is not just about someone who did science or engineering. It's much more about your ability to think outside the box, not being fixed into a box. And that's a beautiful part. So innovators, creative thinkers, leaders, so having that kind of mindset was of great support to helping me shape. And of course, there are still some things from the medical background that helped me, like my analytical reasoning, which is still very useful in tech. But that's one. Second major thing that helped me was exposure. Okay, sometimes we read all the books and get all the theoretical understanding of things without exposure. Exposure gives meaning to what you have read. It gives understanding to what you've read, because it's one thing to study something, it's another thing to see how it works, how people talk about it, how people embrace it, and then it gives you a form of picture upstairs. It gives you a form of dream of what could or could not be. And I think that exposure was also a great factor for me. I attended a lot of conferences, traveled to different places, meeting people and all of that stuff. That really, really helped me, because I was able to come out of my comfort zone and not trying to know things based on just all I've seen around me, but also seeing how it works on the outside. And I always encourage a lot of people, especially young girls, in order for you to dream and dream big, you have to see what's attainable on the outside and let that, inspire you to do much better. A third factor which cannot be taken out of the way, very crucial, very important, which was a tech support system, was having mentors, good network. I like to say that your network is your net worth, right? Show me a man that has got a good net worth, and I will tell you the people that are surrounding him. It's important to be very deliberate on your environment. Be intentional about who surrounds you, all right? Because it can either drive you to become or deter you entirely from being anything in life. So it's very important. Role models, mentors. I think I had a few mentors, not many of them, which was also one of the reasons why I decided to be a role model to lots of ladies out there, young girls. But there are women out there. There are women doing fantastic things. They are probably not spoken about a lot of times, but I don't know if you know that, for example,
the first computer programmer, I mean, we speak a lot about her, is Ada Lovelace. And sometimes people don't even know that, right? That's a lady there. And so there are role models who are out there, but they are not as visible as their male counterpart. Do you understand? But they are there. So understanding how to harness the relationship and the connection is important, because you have somebody you admire is not good enough. There's so much you still have to play. Like I like to say, you might call somebody a mentor, but does the person regard you as a mentee? You see, mentorship relationship is a two-way street. The person has to acknowledge you as a mentee, and then the mentorship will officially start. So many times we have mentors, but we don't have mentees. So it has to go beyond, oh, there's somebody I like and I've been following. No, you have to position yourself as a mentee. And there are ways to position yourself as a mentee so that you can get the fruits of mentorship. And it's that fruits of mentorship that allows you to dream bigger and understand the process to becoming. Otherwise, just at the slightest opposition, you would just say, this is not for me, this is not for me. Let me just, turn my back. Oh, no, I made a mistake. But when you have the right mentors and there is a mentorship going on, they're able to tell you their story, show you the process and the way. And that way you're also able to avoid the pitfalls and their mistakes that they've made in time past, and know that, okay, this part, there's no point going this way. I think it's this way. And then they lead you and all of that. So I think that's been very crucial to my growth. I've got like at least 3 of them who keep tabs and always try to, tell me that I can. And I think that's amazing. So yeah, I'll keep it there.
Right. So like what I'm understanding from what you've said is just it's not all about finding someone saying, wow, I love them or they're so perfect, this is what I want to be in the future. It's about taking that step to really learn from them. It's not just about wanting to be them. It's about being your own person, but embracing techniques that you can learn from them, and also even mentoring others, helping others when you can, and growing up to realize that you're your own person. And it's okay to have people that are your role models that you look at, but just make sure you understand what you're learning, seek knowledge, and just continue to thrive. And obviously, this talk is about breaking barriers. And I think it's amazing to know that it's possible for you to break those barriers. Even your role model could be male, but that doesn't mean that you have to limit yourself in particular. So just breaking those barriers, understanding how to properly look at somebody as your role model, and understand how to continue to work hard and seek more knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adaora, for your response and for giving us a new perspective on being part of the sector. I agree that it is good to have exposure, as that can give insights beyond theoretical resources. One thing I picked up from your response was the quote, network is net worth. Yes, I think that's a very good quote. And it helps us to know that although you may want to pursue a certain career or seek more knowledge or become a professional in a certain field, you shouldn't limit yourself to yourself alone, and you should surround yourself with other people so that you can gain different perspectives and different outlooks on your specialty. Now, on to Professor Oluseyi. I have another question for you. Since you work in a university, what do you think young girls should know to succeed in STEM? Are there any tips you can give to help them thrive in their careers?
Can you come again, please? It was breaking.
Okay. Your question is, since you work in a university, what do you think young girls should know to succeed in STEM? Are there any tips you have to help them thrive in their careers?
Yes, all right. Thank you, Tenny. There's so many things that can help a girl child to succeed in STEM. I think the first thing is to break the stereotype and the bias that, oh, some certain things or some certain areas are strictly for boys or for guys and they're not for girls. So, and I think in the University of Lagos, where I teach, for example, we've had a very good and a fair representation of girls that compete well with the guys. And I think institutionally, University of Lagos has been a model for girls in the sense that at the helms of affairs in the university, currently our Vice Chancellor the first female vice chancellor. That's who we have currently. So I think that gives the girls to know that if the woman can be the head of the university, controlling the entire affairs of the university as a woman, that's the representation. So she has positioned herself already to tell the girls that there is no limit, you can break. In fact, there's no point thinking out of the box. There shouldn't be any box any longer. Break the box, shatter the box, and express yourself. Beyond that, we have, even in the university management, there was a time that the university librarian, the university registrar, two deputy vice chancellors, the university bursar, they were all female. In fact, I think there were 7 of them in the university administrative, and there was only 1 man out of 7 people. So that was enough to preach to the girls that if these women who were once girls could get the very peak of their career, they could also get there. So for me as a university lecturer, I also use my lifestyle as an opportunity to tell the girls, to tell them, because over the time I've been involved in a lot of networking grants involving universities in Nigeria, in Europe, in America, in Australia. And each time I come to the class, I tell them, oh, we've just had a conference, we just won a grant worth this amount of money. So the girls know that, look, as a woman, I've been working with men in the field where there are men, because in sciences, we have more of men in research than women. But that has been putting myself as a model, letting the girls know that if I can do that, they can also do more and do better. And it will interest you to know that I've supervised 7 PhDs, and it's out of those 7, 5 have been women. So naturally, I look out for girls. I look out for young ladies to inspire and to pour out myself into them. And they also have become models to other people. So I think I'll keep it that.
Thank you very much, Professor Oluseyi, for your response. I think that what you said was very inspirational, and the fact that you are a role model in a male-dominated sector, and you were able to inspire other young girls in the STEM field, and you were able to mentor 7 PhD candidates, of which 5 are female. I think that that's very inspirational, and it helps to know, and it's good to know that females can do anything we want to do, even if we are working in a sector that is mainly for males, and even other minorities can also come out and shine and become outstanding in sectors, even though they're dominated by other people. So thank you for letting us know that it is possible to break those barriers. Now on to Dakore.
So I think that what both you, Professor Oluseyi, and Dr. Dora have said has resonated with me greatly. As somebody that's in the robotics team of my school that's actually mainly male dominated, it's really inspiring to know that I can, still move forward. Even during the election process, I ended up being president, which was really surprising. I was the only female in the room. So it just makes me realize that even after what you've said, that I can pursue a career in tech if I just continue to dedicate time and work hard. So for Dr. Adaora, I was going to ask you, from your bio, we heard that you have your initiative, Empower Her, in which you equip young girls with STEM skills. So how can young girls take advantage of mentorships and scholarships to thrive in STEM? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you. I said, first off, thank you for the question. I want to give it to Dr. Temi. I don't know if you guys wrote that down. She said, you should shatter, you should break the barriers, break this. Say there should not be any ceiling afterwards. Break it, and that's really apt. Thank you so much, Ma, for mentioning that, because that's really key. My approach is with the right mind and with the right set of people around you. There's really no ceiling you cannot. It would have been break. There's no ceiling you can't break, but in this case, there's no ceiling you can't shatter. Finish it. So thank you, Mark. To the question, Empower High Tech. Yes. So we have an IT initiative for high school girls that we're running. My team and I, because we realized that in order for us to make great impact in changing the numbers, statistics say that about 30% of female of STEM graduates are female.
And funnily enough, that same statistic still proves that about 50% of them, so 50 male, 50 female, male and females, go into STEM careers, but along the line, they give up. And so the question is why, right? The question is why. Sometimes, like Dr. Temi said, stereotypes, and we have to change that. Other things is support. This is where Empower High Tech comes in. The IT initiative is literally to empower young girls and tell them that IT is not boring, because there are false myths out there. For example, IT or STEM is hard, it's difficult, you can't succeed in it. That's one. Two is that it's boring, it's not interesting. And three is that it's not for women, right? So we're trying to change this false myth by letting them know that anyone can actually walk into STEM. And it's not boring. It's so sweet, it's interesting, it's so flexible, because maybe for some it might seem boring, because at first what you're learning is the framework, which could be the theoretical aspect, and you're just learning the foundations and all of that, and sometimes it looks that way. But the beautiful part about it, which this is to say that schools should also start looking for ways to, introduce some practical aspects to STEM or to tech, like, for example, hackathons, boot camps, competition, coding competition, and whatnot. It's important that they understand the practicality of that. So the idea now is, with this Empower High initiative, we're able to introduce them to it and know that it's not boring. It might look that way at first, but the moment you've grasped the foundation, you realize that it's more or less a field for innovators. It's more or less a field for people who want to think outside the box. So in STEM, you might hear maybe 1 + 1 is 1, but in the real world, 1 + 1 could be 1, it could be 11, it could be 2, it could be anything you want to put after it. That's the idea of thinking outside the box. And that's beautiful to know that I don't just have to work with what I've been taught. I have to use my mindset, I have to use my IQ and come up with something good. It helps you think all the time. So it's not boring, it's sweet. So it's very sweet to know that there's really no manual to this. There's no right or wrong. It's about how you look at it. So at one point, it could be like this. And the next point, that doesn't hold waters. It's now this other way to look at it. So that's beautiful. And with this initiative, we do not just empower them through letting them know what this looks like. We teach them, carry out workshops in cybersecurity, data analytics, computer networks, web development, you just name it. And afterwards, we support them with resources. So some people get scholarships and some get laptops as well. Because it's important that you have the right resources to push your work out there. So I would say, for ladies who are looking for such support, there are lots of organizations out there doing what STECAD is doing. Just try to know of which that you can be a part of and join the movement. Also, you could study some of these things virtually online. There are boot camps also that are being advertised online. LinkedIn is a good platform where you can explore all of these things. A lot of organizations are out there and they put their work out there for calling for boot camps and all of that. So you could take advantage of these things. And remember, with the right mindset and the right people surrounding you, you can shatter ceilings. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
That is honestly really amazing to know that your initiative is designed to really just show that tech can be fun, tech can be engaging. It's not just lengthy coding, it's not boring. You can actually enjoy doing tech, and how it's not limited to one gender, how everybody can come together to work well. So I'll move on to Teni.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adaora, for your response. I like the fact that you said shatter the barriers, not break the barriers, but shatter the barriers. This is also clearly reflected in your tech initiative, Empower Her Tech, where you give ladies the resources required to embark on their tech journey. And I think that that's very inspirational. Now we're going to move on to the audience Q&A section. We're going to invite some audience members to ask some questions. So if there are any questions, we would like to know.
Yes, Mrs. Kelly, is there any question for us, for our guests to answer?
Hi, ladies. Well done on this amazing conversation. I don't know about you all, but I was very much inspired by everything. So I'm looking at the chat now. I don't see any questions so far on the chat on um, YouTube, but I just have like I just have a general question for the speakers, if you don't mind me asking. So for the speakers, this is just, has there ever been a moment when you had to turn somebody who was skeptical about STEM into someone who was a lover of STEM, right? Let's say you saw a young lady or like a student or like somebody in your network, in your group, and this girl has the potential to get into STEM, but might not be interested or is holding back. Have you ever been in the position where you had to actively like encourage her and spring this girl into STEM? And I'm asking this question because there might be other girls who are watching this who might have, you know, an interest, an inkling, or the talent, but might not have the courage and maybe need somebody to push them. So I just want to ask if you've ever been in that position.
Can I go first?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I think basically for me as a teacher, a lecturer, and educator, the basic thing is giving a girl a good mindset, a can-do spirit that yes, if others can, I can. No, removing any form of intimidation and fear, because many a times what make people sit back is because fear of failure. And sometimes we learn when we fail so that we'll be able to know how to do it in a better way. I'll use my daughter as an example. She's a medical student currently. When she was in the secondary school, she told her dad that she wanted to drop out of the further maths class because everybody was going to do medicine, you only need biology, chemistry, physics. And because she wasn't really doing well in further maths, she was like, let me just drop further maths and face the physics, chemistry, biology. But my husband said no, that the problem solving skills in further maths, you will still need it in your medical school. So what should we encourage that to spend more time no practicing and no when you keep on practicing and learning and no you fail you try again and again. And interestingly, when she did a WAEC exam, she had an A in further maths, even though she was afraid of doing that. So because she was encouraged, I think encouragement also plays a very good role. When people encourage you and like you have a cheerleader clapping and saying you can do it, you can do it. So you keep on hearing people tell you can, but when people tell you negative, oh, do you think it's for you? Are you sure you can cope? That person like no coupled with that inner argument and somebody now validating it again makes people run away from that. But if you have someone that can encourage you, parents encouraging their children, there's nothing you cannot do if you put your mind there and you work hard towards it, you will achieve it.
Thank you so much, Professor Oluseyi, for that. And I'm glad that you were your daughter's biggest cheerleader, somebody that also despised mathematics with a burning passion. I'm glad that you were able to like be a cheerleader for your daughter. So, Dr. Adaora, I don't know if you have anything to add to that question.
Not really. I think Doc has said everything. Tackling fear is really important. I like to say that fear is only as big as the attention you give to it. Fear is only as powerful as the attention you give to it. So the moment you take your mind off it, then you realize that there was really nothing to it, you know. So that's all I would like to add. Thank you so much, Doc, for that contribution.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Adora. You know that fear is nothing to be scared of. As soon as you get over that fear, your possible are endless. So let me hand it over to our lovely moderators. Let me not steal the spotlight away from them. I think there's a question, a general question that they want to ask you both before we round off the session. And for all of us that are watching, for those that stream live on YouTube, just remember that this session is still available on YouTube to reference whenever you can. So yes, over to you, to our lovely moderators, Dakore and Teniayo.
Thank you. So for our final question for the both of you, you can both answer. We'd like to ask, what is one myth about STEM careers that you'd like to debunk? Dr. Adaora, you can go. Thank you.
Okay, I think I've already debunked three of them. I'll add a fourth one. Three I debunked was that it's difficult, right? The second is that it's boring, and the third is that it's just for women do not make it in STEM courses, right? Or in STEM careers. The fourth one I would add to that is when we talk about technology, it's just for people who are willing to code, right? So there is a thing that when you talk about IT, tech, it's for coders, and that's wrong, right? That's false. There are other non-coding aspects of tech, and I actually even started with the non-coding aspects of tech before I migrated to the coding aspects of tech. So you have courses like product design, IT project management, cybersecurity, data analytics. There's now even business analytics, digital marketing. You know, these are non coding career paths that you could take. So it doesn't mean that when we talk about technology or we talk about when we talk about the tech part of STEM, then it means you have to automatically be a coder. No, if coding is not your thing, if you're not the kind that likes to just, tell the computer do this and then it does that, then why not? You could go into the non-aspects of coding. So yeah, that's one thing I would like to debunk.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adaora, for your response. And debunking the myth that tech is indeed not all about coding. And our final question will be directed to Professor Oluseyi. And this question is from a viewer on YouTube. The question is that, in your journey so far, do you have any regrets?
Can you come again?
In your journey so far, do you have any regrets?
None at all. None at all. No regrets.
I think that's interesting to know. Dr. Adaora, how about you? Do you have any regrets in your journey so far?
Not exactly. The only thing I always like to talk about is I wish I started earlier, much earlier. You would say I'm young, so why are you talking about starting earlier? I look at it this way: if I started earlier, I would make more impact, right? So sometimes I like to say I'm too old already. I'm young, but but as scripture says, all things work together for good, right? So maybe if I started earlier, it would have been a different path entirely. So hence I would say no regrets. But if I was to push something out there, I would just say I wish I started earlier in all of my campaign, in all of my projects, in trying to ensure that more women, maybe by now the numbers would have moved from 30%, maybe it would have been 45% or 50%, Yeah, imagine. But we will get there. Sure of that. We'll get there as women. Yeah.
That's amazing to know that, yes, you could have started earlier. And that's just inspired to all girls that don't wait until much later, until your university days. Start discovering tech for yourself now so that in the future you can inspire even more people and create more of a ripple effect. We'd now like to hand over to Ms. Kilali to round off the session.
Great. Thank you all so much. I just want to say a big thank you to our esteemed panelists, to Adaora and Professor Oluseyi. Thank you so much for inspiring all of us with your experiences, with your stories, with the work that you're doing, the amazing work that you're doing. And I'm so glad that not only have you inspired us in this call, but I'm sure that you're going to inspire many more young girls to come. Thank you. And I want to say special thank you to our lovely, lovely moderators, Dakore and Teniayo. You guys were amazing. I was in shock and I was in awe. I wish I had this type of professionalism when I was 13 and 14, but you're doing an amazing job. And I'm sure that you are able to see yourselves in these speakers, that sometime one day I will be the one on this panel and there'll be another student, probably from my same school, asking me questions. And so, yes, thank you. So I am going to just do another reminder to everyone who's joining us so far that this session will still be available on YouTube. You can follow us on Junior Achievements Nigeria on YouTube. Our social media pages are at Junior Nigeria on Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter, and then Junior Achievement Nigeria on Facebook and LinkedIn. So on behalf of the entire team at Junior Achievement Nigeria, I would like to thank all of you. Thank our speakers, thank our moderators, thank the team that is behind this entire operation, and also to thank our lovely audience for listening in, for taking notes wherever you are, whether you are sitting at your desk or you're on the road or you're with your friends or with your colleagues or your classmates, wherever you are, whenever you're going to listen to this session, I just want to say thank you. Thank you all so much. Over to you, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We can. I see that the live has stopped. Can we leave the call? Are we good?
Oh, yeah.